Hey, what's happening, brethren? How's it going out there? This is Makayo, your brother, coming to you. And I want to talk to you a little bit today about China. Dun, 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 the C word, yes. China. Is China tracking you? An Olympic analysis. I want to look a little bit at the opening ceremony of the Chinese Olympics and want to get your take on it and see what you guys are thinking. And to see if you think there may be any symbolism going on here. Because often the globalists like to put symbolism into public displays where many people are reached. And Olympics is one of those. The Super Bowl is one of those. Concerts, lots of different things, ways that they try to get their subliminal messages out there. Because once they kind of condition you subliminally, then you're more likely to accept it in the conscious world. See how that works? I mean, this is something that they do. It's proven in there's a lot of history to it. Gematria is another thing they use, and there's a lot of things that they do to try to put it out there. It's kind of part of their covenant, that they feel like they have to kind of tell you what they're doing in order for you to sort of accept it. It's kind of like Satan. Satan can't do anything you don't let him do. He can't come into your life. Demons can't come into your life unless you technically invite them in. Don't do that, okay? Make sure you don't do that. Always be inviting the Holy Spirit of God into your life, but don't let anybody else come into your life other than God, okay? There's a God-shaped hole inside of you, and that's the only spirit that should be in there is the Holy Spirit, okay? You do not want to be inviting any other spirits in. But that's kind of the rule Satan has to do. And even when Satan went to God about Job, right, he had to get permission from God to destroy Job's life. And God allowed him to do it, but ultimately he had to get God's permission. He couldn't just go and do it on his own. And that's the deal that Satan has with God, etc. So, so I want to talk a little bit about China tracking you. Kind of some thoughts I had as I was watching the Olympic opening ceremony here. But before I do that, I saw the most offensive bumper sticker today. I couldn't believe it. And it just blew me away. And I took a picture of it. And it had a really offensive 4-letter M word on it. And I was tempted to pull the person over and just, tell them, hey, there are children present. And, and kind of give them a firm talking to. I took the picture myself, and I want to show this to you because, viewer discretion advised. But there it is. Math. Can you believe it? I couldn't believe it. I mean, there were children in the car, and they could be negatively influenced. For all you people who struggle with math in high school, that one was for you. I can relate. Anyway, I did actually take that picture today. I didn't just find it online. I literally was driving home and took that picture and thought I'd share it with you guys because it was kind of funny. Anyway, but seriously, folks, let's talk about what we're really here for. That was just a little comic relief to open us up. But let's talk about China, shall we? All right, let's take a look. So, China. Bum, bum, bum. What's really going on with these guys? Well, before we dive into that, and let me just, of course, this always gets a little bit off for me here. Just when you want it to be on. I have to fix this. Let me see if I can get this to cooperate with me. That's what happens when you're working live. It doesn't always do what you want it to do when you want it to do it. But maybe you just need a little longer to kind of take in that bumper sticker there to really feel the pain. All right, here we go. So before we dive in, I just want to invite you guys. I want to thank, first of all, those of you who have taken the $1 a month challenge. Woo! Awesome. Thank you so much for your support out there. I really appreciate it. It goes a long way in helping us. And when I have enough support, I'm going to try to upgrade some things here to make it even better viewing experience for all of you. So I appreciate those of you who've helped out in that way. If you haven't yet done that, please help us out. Go to MakayOMessenger.com. $1 a month. That's all we're saying. 3 cents a day. Who can't afford $1 a month? Think of the things you spend money on every day. And I know things can be tight these days, but $1. So all we're saying. a month could really go a long way. So we appreciate your support. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe. Going forward, all of our chats are going to be subscriber only because, I want to talk to those who really care about the channel. So, I know a lot of other people can sort of bomb channels and stuff, and they just show up on the live. So I really want to focus on subscribers, people who really care about the channel and really want to hear the information we're sharing. So it's real simple to become a subscriber. Just click the subscriber button and you can start chatting right now. I'd love to hear your chat comments, actually. I really like to build most of these shows around your comments as much as I can. I come in with something to share so that it's not just dead air and to break the ice and everything. But definitely want to hear what you guys have to say and what you think. So please do chime in the comment box there. And like I say, anybody can be a subscriber. Just click subscribe and you're a subscriber. It's that simple. And you can do that right now. And feel free to chat with me as we're talking here. So like, subscribe, support. Thank you so much for that. So let's dive into China here a little bit, shall we? All right. So China is known for tracking people. It's one of the things they do best. I'm sure they take pride in it. Hitler would be proud. Stalin, all the great dictators of all time would be so proud of China and how far they've come. In fact, the globalists and the cabal have often commented that they really admire China and they want to imitate China as much as possible. People like Justin Trudeau is on record saying that. There's video of him saying that. You can look it up, where he says, yeah, I really want to imitate China. They really know how to oppress people and, really put people in a box and keep people socially constrained. The social credit score, where every thought that they have is kept on file and used against them in whatever way possible. And the globalists, the cabal, they just love that. They just love to attack people. And so they want to learn from China because China is really the king at doing that. They're really, really good at it. And as you notice, there were some reporters that were in China and they were trying to report the truth about what was going on there. And they were quickly scuttled away by the Chinese mobsters when they were trying to, I think it was a guy from Belgium or somewhere who was, giving his 2 cents. And while he's in the middle of reporting, they come and they cart him away. Like, oh, that's so great, man. China is just so great at oppression and, attacking people, making people feel less than dirt, the Uyghurs and so many things that they've done to really make people feel like they are commodity, that they could just kind of be bought and sold. They have the highest capital punishment rate, I believe, because they can harvest all the organs from that. So they're just really thoughtful when it comes to people. Brett, what's happening, man? Satan thinks they're doing a top job. Exactly. Satan thinks that. Thank you for your comment. As always, good to see you, Brett. Thanks for being here. Yeah, exactly. Just Satan loves China. Satan is like, the red dragon. Oh, you're a dragon after my own dragon. Because Satan is a dragon too, in Revelation 12, he says he's the ancient serpent, that great dragon, right? And China's following in the footsteps of Satan. They're like, yes, we want to be like the great red dragon too. So we're going to make our people feel as oppressed as possible and keep them in their little box. And if they don't behave, then they can't go anywhere. They can't travel. They can't see. But that's what they're trying to do worldwide. That's what all these lockdowns have been and everything. It's conditioning, social condition. They're conditioning you, getting you used to the box. Get in your box. That was one of the things in the that I added later to the video I did last night on the Super Bowl. Was talking about the guys who come out in the black uniforms. Because I forgot to mention that last night. I put it in the comments there. But they come out in the black uniforms, and it's all African-American guys with blonde dyed hair. I don't know if they were trying to look like Eminem or if this was some, a callback to Demolition Man with Wesley Snipes, or I don't know exactly what they were going for there, but it was this kind of general thing, and they're wearing Dre Day on it, which if you think about it, it's D-Day, Dre Day, D-Day, or Dread Day, a day of dread, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then they come out of these cardboard boxes, kind of like we've been all stuffed into our little cardboard boxes, right, in our houses and locked down. And I don't know if they're supposed to be robots or drones. I mean, they come out of these boxes and their arms are in the shape of like a gun that they're holding. Very interesting. And then they're the ones that are the tyrants over the concentration camp prisoners that we see running around in the khakis and the white t-shirts, which I also put a link for that in that comment as well, where you can see links of prisoners that are wearing the exact same clothes. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you've seen plenty of shows where people are dressed like that, but if you haven't seen that, you can click on that link and check out what they look like there. Brett, test run for worldwide social credit system. They look like clones. Yeah, I thought so too. I thought they were clones, kind of like a bunch of cloned soldiers, who are going to oppress everybody. So China is great at this, right? And so, they've got their tracking system and their face tracking, and they really know how to make people feel small. And so you go to their Olympic ceremony, right? And there was a lot of worship here of the snowflake, right? And I talked a little bit about this last night, but I thought I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into it here for you. But you're thinking, okay, well, it's winter time, snowflakes, that kind of goes together, right? So not too crazy there, but it just got a little strange how much they focus on this snowflake. I'm like, man, they're really obsessed with this snowflake. They're like literally dancing around it, worshiping the snowflake, and they've got people just celebrating this one big snowflake. Like, what is it about this big snowflake that's so important, right? And I started to look at it. I'm like, well, what is it? What is it about this snowflake that's so important? And just the way it's shaped, if you look at it, it's not a typical design. It's see if I got another. Well, I'll show you that in a second. But if you look at it, it doesn't look like a regular snowflake, for that matter. It almost looks more like kind of leaves, on the outside, and then what looks more like a grid of some type, a hex grid, on the inside. And if you haven't yet seen my video on the mark of the beast, I want to make sure you check that out. Let me see. I think I had it open here somewhere. Just so, is it this one? Yeah. So be sure to check out that first video there, Mark of the Beast 666, that I have on my channel right here at YouTube. Be sure to check that out, because that actually goes over this 666 or hex. And I don't want to say some of the things about it. I just want you to watch it. So go ahead and watch that, and you'll kind of know a little bit more about what I'm talking about. And we may see a few more images that I have brought up here that talk a little bit more about that. But you look at this, what they're calling, what you would think is a snowflake, and you start to go, well, is it really a snowflake, or is it something else? Because it doesn't quite look like a snowflake. You've got these, like these leaves kind of on the outside, and then what looks kind of like a grid pattern on the inside, that looks a little bit more like a microchip. Let me show you this. Where's my microchip? So it's a little bit more kind of like this. Kind of like the inside of a microchip might look, kind of more like gears and wires than like an actual snowflake looks, which is interesting because that kind of ties into a few things. Now, let me show you a couple more pictures here of the Olympics. Well, before I do, I'll show you that in a second. Let me just show you these. So you got this snowflake, right? And they're worshiping it. They're so I don't know if you can see in that picture, but there's a group of people circling the snowflake on top of the world. So what is it about this snowflake that they're so obsessed with the snowflake on top of this world? And then you've got the Aurora Borealis lines kind of connecting it throughout the world, which, Tesla wanted to use that as a way of connecting and communicating and sharing energy and so forth. And so you're thinking it's some sort of a connection that they're making here. And then as you dig a little deeper and you go a little closer to snowflake, you realize that each of those little, what look like circuits in the snowflake, actually has the name of a country in it. So it's kind of like each country gets their own little snowflake, and then we all are connected through these snowflakes. That's kind of interesting too. What does this all mean? Does it mean anything? It's an interesting choice. Why did they choose this snowflake of all things to kind of be obsessed with? Let's see what Brett's saying here. Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of tiki-taki, little box on the hillside, little box on the same. Can't remember who wrote the song, but that is what they want for us. Yeah, exactly. I'm living in a box. I don't know if you remember that group from the 80s. I'm living in a cardboard box. They want us just like homeless people living in boxes. You will own nothing and love it. I think I have that picture here somewhere. You will own nothing and love it. I gotta show you that picture. See if I can find it. I have a bunch of pictures over here, so I don't know. Still got some Gog and Magog stuff here. Where is that? You will own nothing. Oh, well, there's the 666 for Obama. Oh, here it is. You will own nothing and be happy. Hoo, hoo, hoo. That's what they want for you guys. They just want you to To be a slave. Welcome back to the feudal system. Remember that? Feudalism 2.0. Yeah, that's right. You go back to no one owns the land anymore except for the lords and the masters, right? And you just go back to owning nothing and being happy because you were so happy, right? Back in those days, those feudalism days. Ah, for those feudalism days. Weren't those good times? So that's what they want to bring you back to. So let's talk a little bit about this snowflake. So I thought it was interesting. I'm like, okay, it's got this grid pattern going on here. It doesn't look like a regular snowflake. I also noticed the fact that it's got six prongs on the outside, of course, and then there's 6 kind of on the inside of the empty space. And I'm like, well, there's got to be a way they're making 666 here, I'm sure. And I talk about that again in the Mark of the Beast video, so be sure to check that out, the whole hex thing. And so if you look kind of closely, you see that grid pattern thing kind of has 6 little predominant notches that stick out. So technically you could say that's a 666. Also they have, now notice the leaves, they seem to have 7 leaves, but technically it's 6. It's 3 on each side. That's 6. And there's sort of the 1 in the middle. So it could be the master over the 6, looking kind of deep at it there. But anyway, interesting. Why are they focusing on this snowflake? Okay, well, I found some interesting things here. I'm like, wow, well, the snowflake actually has some meaning, supposedly, to the Chinese. Now, it may go beyond this, but this is how they tried to explain it for people probably like us who are kind of like, what's with the snowflake? Why are they so obsessed with snowflakes? So I guess each of these snowflakes has a certain symbolic meaning. Now, a lot of them do have 6 prongs on them. Not all of them do, but certainly the one that they chose does. Well, if you look at this, it talks about snowflake designs and the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics and their meaning. And you go down and they say, well, Pyeong Winter Olympics, passion, means, here's different meanings. Passion and glory that become one, festival, space, joy, people, harmony, sports, force, focus, festival, harmony, balance, harmony, peace, focus, fly, passion, unity. Okay, so I don't know exactly which one, if any of these, that they're actually using. Technically, maybe it's, it's got to be one of these ones with the six sides on it. It could be like I don't know, I think it's maybe the first one. I guess that represents Pyeong Winter Olympics. And then you also got this last row. The first one, last row is harmony. But I did think about things like balance, harmony, unity, and kind of, unity sounds real nice, right? Like, oh yeah, we all want to be unified. But at what price? At what cost, right? So, see, God has a great reset, and so does Satan. God's great reset is that we all repent, turn to goodness and love and truth and freedom, and that we have that and we share that for eternity. And that's God's vision. Like, we're all going to be together with God. It's going to be this beautiful thing. Satan has the opposite vision. He wants unity in the name. He wants unity by slavery. So he wants to oppress everybody and make everybody do evil and what he wants them to do, and not about freedom and not about individuality or truth or goodness or any of those things. But he wants us all to be slaves to his one world order, his system. So on the surface, when you talk about, one world government, well, wouldn't that be great? Because it's a small world after all. You're going to think this is a good thing, right? But not when it doesn't have God as the foundation. When Satan is the foundation, it's only going to be tyranny and oppression, right? And that's what we've seen. Every time they've tried to do socialism, it always winds up being tyrannical and oppressive because these are sinful people, wicked people, as God defines it. It says man's desire is only wickedness all the time. Every inclination of the heart is only evil all the time from the day that they're born. And so that's every inclination of our heart is only searching after wicked schemes. And even Jesus says, even though you who are evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father give good gifts to those who, who love him? Or I think if I'm quoting that correctly, but basically he calls them evil. He says, listen, you're evil and you know how to give good gifts to children. How much more is God, who's actually good, going to give good things to those who love him, right? So that's the principle there, right? It's two different kind of social systems fighting against each other. Well, I just thought it was interesting that they had this snowflake with such a predominant aspect of the Olympics. And then you dig a little deeper into the snowflake, and you realize that there is this sort of snowflake circuit thing going on. And there's specifically a company called Snowflake. If you go to snowflake.com, that specializes in data harvesting, and i.e. tracking, right? If you're going to track a bunch of people, how are you going to do it, right? You're going to have a network. So instead of calling it like a web, like we call the internet a web because we're all connected, right? They call it a snowflake. That sounds real nice. Oh, it's harmless. It's a harmless little snowflake. And we're just going to put this little snowflake in your right hand and on your forehead, okay? It's harmless. It's even kind of pretty, right? It's a snowflake. And so there's this company. It's called Snowflake. And if you look, here's some snowflakes that look like a virus, some virus flakes. And, right, so you start to see a little bit of a connection there. And then you get to snowflake.com, and look at this. Snowflake.com says analytics ready data on COVID. I shouldn't say that word, I guess, the C word. Analytics ready data on COVID-19 cases, vaccination, healthcare resource availability, and more. So this is where all your data is going, guys. These are the guys who are tracking all the cases, all the, who's had it, who hasn't, who's taken the poison, who hasn't, just all that data. It has to go somewhere. Someone has to be the one tracking it, right? So, the cabal may be misusing that data, but somebody has to be the one who's containing all that data, and that's these snowflake guys. So China's already big on that, right? They're already big on tracking their people, so they may be using this service for all we know. But it could be this symbolism where they show these snowflakes all connected with all the different countries' names on it, is the same idea of connecting this social credit score, that everybody around the world, all the different countries are going to take part in this same, what looks like kind of like a web, only there's a snowflake. And they're all going to take part in the snowflake tracking system and all be connected by this snowflake. And again, going back to this original snowflake, it does not look like a regular snowflake. It looks like a microchip. It looks like something a little bit more digital with all those hexes on the inside. So just kind of something interesting to think about. Why did they use this symbolism? Now this is something, you can read it on the screen. I'm not going to say anything else about it, but that's also in the Mark of the Beast video, so be sure to watch that. But it's six-sided. Each one is six-sided, and there are a lot of components of it that equal 666 specifically. So be sure to check that out as well as something that's going on. Could be going on inside of you as we speak. And then one other one I wanted to show you. Was it this one? Let's see. There's another picture I wanted to show you here. Oh wait, kind of got shot. Oh, here it is. So the other thing I wanted to share with you was there were a lot of water images, and I'm thinking water, in the wintertime for Winter Olympics, it doesn't really connect because the water's frozen, right? So there aren't water sports in the Olympics, but there was a lot of this kind of overflowing tidal wave, tsunami type of wave action going on during this opening ceremony as well. It had this element, and then there's one at the end that was kind of like waves. And so just, again, you just wonder, is this kind of like a foreshadowing of waves or tsunami, or what does this mean? So so just a few interesting observations there. Not too huge of a thing today, but something to just ponder about as far as what was the point of this symbolism? What were they getting at? What were they trying to say? And on a sort of pure, to the pure, all things are pure. From a childlike standpoint, you're like, oh, well, it's just we're all connected and snowflakes are pretty. But when you look at that snowflake, it doesn't look like a regular snowflake. So it just does make you question, kind of wonder, what are they really trying to say here? So so just some thoughts there. Would love to get your guys' feedback and comments. Like I say, nothing too heavy. I'm working on another Arpazo video coming up to talk about Babylon and Revelation, and I guess that's all I'll share about that right now. But with Babylon as a focus, I'm working on another one that I want to talk about, the first for the four horsemen, and kind of where we're at on the timeline. Like what are we still waiting for to happen for the Arpazo to take place? So this was just kind of a quick video tonight. I'm trying to do videos every day, so it was sort of a quick one tonight. But something to think about there with the Winter Olympics going on. What's the symbolism? What's happening there? And maybe we'll take a look at their closing ceremony too as well. Be sure to join us this Sunday. We will be having our live Sunday night time at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which I guess they're going to be re-airing the closing ceremonies at that time, which I thought we could watch it live, but I'm like, I think I'd rather just see it afterwards and kind of analyze little points and maybe do another video like this and maybe drawing something out of it. I think that would probably be a little easier, more productive. But Brett says definitely connection there, especially since it is linked to personal data. Yeah, that's what I thought too. And the fact that it's linked to the big C also, I thought that was interesting that, because they spent a lot of time with that snowflake, and then they turned it into this whole like we are the world with the snowflake thing, with the snowflake on top of the world at the end. And I just thought, that's kind of interesting. Why is this snowflake so significant? And just the way it looks there, it just looks kind of like a grid pattern rather than your typical snowflake. So I just thought, maybe there's something more digitally connected there. Its molecular shape is symbolic of the horned hunter, says Brett. Look how it almost made a 5-pointed star upside down. Yeah, well, and then you got the sort of the you've almost got the pentagram, and then you've also got the hexagram, which is also satanic, and the 666 in there. So interesting to think about, whether or not there's really anything to it, who knows, but it's just kind of an interesting thing to think about. So that's all for today, guys. Just a little quick one for you. But love you guys, and let me know your thoughts and comments, and I'll talk to you again soon.